They never missed a chance to ask for help. But on the one day I needed them, my birthday, no one called. No one texted. What I did next changed everything. For me, that day was my 26th birthday. It started like any other. I woke up, checked my phone, mostly out of habit, and saw nothing. No messages, no calls, no happy birthday alerts waiting for me like confetti on a screen. I stared at the lock screen for a second, feeling this weird emptiness settle in my chest. I told myself it was still early. People would remember eventually. But the day dragged on. I worked from home that Friday, answering emails, knocking out tasks, trying to keep my head down. My job was not bad. I was in IT, doing back-end support for a logistics company. Not glamorous, but it paid well and gave me breathing room. By noon, the silence felt personal. Every single one of them, my sister, my closest friend from college, the guy I always cover tabs for during bar nights, even my mom, radio silence. I scrolled through Instagram and saw Jenna posting boomerangs from her yoga retreat in Sedona. Jake had uploaded a picture of his burger and beer combo from the local pub, tagged 2 friends I had introduced him to. My own sister, Elise, was resharing memories of her own birthday from 3 months ago, where I planned the whole day, covered the bill for a dinner she picked, and got her the camera she had been eyeing for months. Still, nothing for me. By 6 p.m., the denial faded. I sat there at my kitchen counter, watching the ice melt in the glass of whiskey I had poured for myself. One drink. No cake. No candles. No stupid jokes about getting older. It was not that I expected fireworks. I'm not a kid. But a simple text? A quick, happy birthday, man, would have done the trick. Instead, I got complete silence from the same people who counted on me for everything. It was like I did not exist, except when they needed something. I had this moment of clarity, clearer than anything I had felt in months. Maybe even years. I realized I had spent most of my adult life orbiting other people's lives. Showing up. Helping out. Giving more than I got. Every event? I was there. Every emergency? I stepped in. Every dinner bill that mysteriously got short by $30? I paid it. Every favor? I was the guy who said yes. But when my day came, I was invisible. And in that moment, I made a decision. No announcement. No confrontation. Just action. I opened each group chat, my college friends, the family thread, the high school crew, and clicked leave chat one by one. I unfollowed the ones I had been hanging onto out of guilt. Blocked a few, just for good measure. Turned off notifications and slid my phone under the couch cushion. Then I grabbed my keys, walked out the door, and kept walking. Where was I going? Even I did not know yet. But I had just closed a chapter. And whatever was waiting on the next page, it was mine. For the first time in years, it was mine. I walked for hours that night. Through quiet side streets, past bars spilling laughter out onto sidewalks, and across intersections where nobody stopped to look. My boots hit the pavement with this steady rhythm, like my body was trying to match the beat of something deeper unraveling inside me. No music. No destination. Just me and the sound of moving forward. At some point, I ended up at a small motel off the highway. Not a dump, but not exactly luxury either. I walked in, paid cash for 2 nights, and told the clerk I did not want housekeeping. He barely looked up. I like that. The room smelled faintly like cleaning spray and stale coffee, and I welcomed it. It felt blank. Untouched. No framed pictures of people pretending to be perfect. No reminders of birthdays missed or jokes made at my expense. I sat on the edge of the bed, took off my jacket, and just breathed. Really breathed. Like my lungs were filling up for the first time in months. Years, maybe. And that was when it hit me. I had no intention of going back. This was not a timeout. It was not a protest. It was a reset. I pulled out a notepad I kept in my work bag and started making a list, not of things to do, but of people to let go of. One by one. Jake. Elise. Tony from work who always forgot his wallet. Even my mom. I wrote their names down and stared at the page like it was a ledger of debt, emotional debt I had been paying off for far too long. Next, I wrote down my own name. Just one word. Zach. I looked at it for a while. It felt like meeting someone new. Or maybe someone I had not seen in a long time. When the sun came up the next morning, I grabbed breakfast from a gas station and sat in the motel parking lot eating eggs out of a plastic container. It tasted terrible. I did not care. Because for the first time in my life, I was making decisions that were not about keeping the peace. I was not trying to be the glue anymore. I was not trying to be the dependable one. I was just being. And right then, I decided I would not tell anyone what I was doing. No calls. No long messages trying to explain. No guilt-soaked paragraphs hoping someone would say sorry. If they noticed I was gone, they could figure out the rest on their own. Because sometimes silence says more than any speech ever could. That motel became my base for the next 4 days. I did not go back to my apartment. I did not check my work email. I turned off location services on my phone, swapped out the SIM card, and paid cash wherever I could. It felt reckless. It also felt like freedom. I spent my time doing something I had not done in years, thinking about me. Not what people needed from me. Not how I could be useful. Just who I was when no one was watching. I started journaling. At first, it was just scribbles. Random thoughts. But over time, it turned into something else. Pages filled with moments I had buried, times they used me, mocked me, leaned on me, and then disappeared the second I needed a shoulder back. There was the time I drove 4 hours to help Jake move after his ex kicked him out, only for him to flake on my birthday lunch 3 weeks later, saying he was too tired. Or Elise, my sister, who called me in tears at 2 in the morning last year, saying she needed help with rent. I wired her money that night. She did not even send a thank you card. And my mom, God, she used to tell people I was the calm one, but what she really meant was I did not rock the boat. I was the one who cleaned up the messes, kept the secrets, and never asked for anything. All of that came pouring out of me like poison pulled from a wound. But something unexpected happened too. After all the rage and betrayal worked its way through, there was this stillness. A kind of peace. I started walking again, hiking local trails, sitting in coffee shops with my notebook, avoiding eye contact, just observing. And I began to see a version of myself I had long forgotten. Not Zach the fixer. Not Zach the dependable. But Zach the person. One afternoon, sitting under a tree near the edge of town, I had a strange urge. I opened my notebook and wrote the words, "What if I never went back?" Not in a dramatic, disappear off the grid way, but in a new chapter kind of way. I had savings. Not much, but enough to get by for a bit. I had no kids. No partner. No mortgage tying me to that place. And absolutely no one was reaching out to check where I had gone. That silence? It confirmed everything. And then, just when I had started to feel like the past was truly behind me, something changed. I got a call from a number I did not recognize. I let it ring. Then it rang again. Then a third time. I finally answered. It was a voice I had not heard in months. Tony from work. He sounded off. Nervous. Said he had been trying to reach me and that people were starting to get worried. I asked him plainly, why now? He did not have an answer. But what he said next chilled me. Jake's missing. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, staring at the dusty dashboard of my car like it was going to explain something I could not wrap my head around. Tony repeated it. Jake's missing. I leaned back against the driver's seat and asked him what he meant. Missing how? Like he skipped town? Like he ghosted his girlfriend again? Or like, really missing? Tony's voice cracked a little. Said Jake had not shown up for work in 5 days. That nobody had seen or heard from him since the weekend. His apartment door was locked, lights off. Car gone. Phone dead. His sister filed a report. Then he added, "You were the last person he messaged." I felt my stomach twist. I remembered it now, barely. A half-baked message from Jake the night before my birthday. Something dumb like, "What are you doing Saturday?" I had not even opened it. By then, I had already checked out. Deleted the app. That message was buried beneath the weight of everything else that day. But still, that made me the last known contact? I asked Tony why he was telling me all this now. He hesitated. Then he said it. People think you might have snapped. That sentence sat in the air like a stone dropped into water. Snapped? Because I disappeared? Because for once, I did not show up to pick up their pieces? I laughed. A dry, bitter laugh that surprised even me. Then I asked, did they know it was my birthday? Silence. Not even a breath. That was the moment I realized none of them had put the pieces together. The irony hit me like a slap. I had not disappeared out of anger. I had left because I was done begging to be seen. And now, the second something inconvenient happened, now they noticed. Tony tried to backtrack, said he was just reaching out because everyone's a little shaken up. I told him I had no idea where Jake was, that I had not spoken to him for several days, and I ended the call. But something about it stuck with me. The idea that the people who never asked if I was okay were suddenly scrambling because someone else went missing. That night, I went back to the motel, but sleep never came. My mind kept replaying old conversations. All those times Jake joked that I was too quiet, that I bottled things up, that if I ever lost it, it would be like a Netflix documentary. Funny, right? Until it wasn't. Around 3 in the morning, I opened my notebook again and wrote one word in all caps, enough. Because even if I had not snapped, the world around me was starting to. And I had a gut feeling this was just the beginning. The next morning, I did something I had not done since I left. I checked my voicemail. There were 9 messages. The first 3 were from Tony. The next 2 from an unknown number. Then Elise. Then my mom. Then another from Elise. And finally, Jake. The timestamp on Jake's message hit me like a brick. It was from midnight. On my birthday. I hit play. His voice was slurred, a little frantic, like he had been drinking, but something else was there too, something raw. I heard him say, "Hey man, I know I screw up sometimes, but you've always been there, even when I didn't deserve it. I was gonna call earlier, but I figured you'd be out with people, not like me. Just, thanks. For everything. I mean that." There was a pause, then static, then the line cut off. I sat there in that motel bed, holding my phone like it might bite me. Jake had remembered. He had called, and I had missed it. I did not know what that meant yet, but it cracked something inside me. Because for all the ways he had leaned on me, for all his flaws, maybe, just maybe, he had tried. In his own broken way. But no one knew where he was now. By noon, I had checked out of the motel. Not to return home. I was not done disappearing. Not yet. But I needed to know what happened to Jake. I drove back into town, not to my place, but near the edge of where the old train yard used to be. Jake and I used to go there in high school to clear our heads, drink cheap beer, talk about how we would get out of this place someday. It was mostly rubble now. Fenced off. Forgotten. Still, I parked and walked the perimeter, scanning the trees, the brush, the cracks in the landscape for anything that felt off. And that was when I saw it. A strip of broken ground. Fresh tire marks. A trail leading into the brush that had not been there before. My heart started pounding. I followed it. About 100 feet in, partially hidden by trees and branches, was Jake's car. Empty. No blood. No damage. Just empty. And on the windshield, stuck under the wiper, was an envelope. My name was on it. Just one word. Zach. I reached for it with hands that felt like they were shaking apart. Slid the paper out. And what was written inside would change everything. The envelope was wrinkled and a little damp, like it had been sitting out overnight. My name was written in Jake's handwriting, sloppy, but familiar. I opened it with shaking hands, half expecting some kind of cruel joke, or worse, a goodbye. But the words inside were not what I expected. They were not dramatic, not poetic. They were just honest. Zach. If you were reading this, it means I finally got it. All of it. I was always too late, too selfish, too dumb to see how much you carried for all of us. You were the safety net. The fixer. The quiet guy we all leaned on without ever really asking how you felt. I knew your birthday was coming up. I wanted to do something for once. Just one thing that was about you. But I waited too long. Again. You disappearing made me look at myself. And man, it was not pretty. I have been spiraling. Things have been bad, worse than anyone knows. I owed people. I lied to friends. I burned bridges I could not rebuild. But the truth is, I envied you. Not just your job or your self-control. I envied the fact that even when life kicked you down, you kept showing up. Even when no one showed up for you. This is not a goodbye letter. I just needed to step away before I did something really stupid. I left the car because I needed it to be hard to trace. Do not call anyone. Do not worry about me. I will reach out when I am ready. Take this as proof. You do matter. I noticed. I always did. Jake. I read it twice. Then a third time. And I just stood there, alone in the woods, holding that letter while the wind tugged at the edges like it was trying to take it away. Something inside me cracked wide open. Because I had spent so long believing I was invisible. But maybe I was just surrounded by people too broken to say what they really meant. Maybe Jake was the only one honest enough to admit it. I sat on the hood of his car and stared up at the sky. 1,000 questions buzzed in my head. Where was he now? Would he be okay? Should I go to the police? But above all that, one question rang louder than the rest. If Jake could disappear and come back stronger, why not me? And just like that, a new idea took root. I would not go back to my apartment. I would not return to my job. I would not give anyone the closure they were so desperate for. I would keep moving. Because for the first time in my life, the road ahead belonged to me and no one else. The next day, I left town. No announcement. No note on the fridge. I just packed a duffel with clothes, grabbed my laptop, some cash, and drove west until the sun started sinking behind the trees. I stayed off major highways, booked roadside motels under a different version of my name, paid in cash, deleted old email accounts, turned off the location on every device I owned. Ghost mode. Fully and completely. People always say they want to start over. They imagine some grand transformation, new city, new job, new look. But starting over is quiet. Boring, even. It is small steps. Sleeping in strange beds. Eating alone. Forgetting what day it is. Letting yourself be nobody, on purpose. I liked it more than I expected. I ended up in a coastal town after 2 weeks of drifting. It had a name I will not mention, not because I am scared, just because it feels sacred now. The kind of place with a single gas station, a coffee shop that closed by 4, and locals who never asked more than your first name. I found work fast. There was this guy named Marvin who ran a marina and needed help with boat maintenance. I told him I knew how to fix engines, even though I did not. He handed me a wrench and said, "Figure it out." So I did. That job saved me. Not because of the money, it was crap, but because it gave my hands something to do. My brain, too. I started to sleep again, eat again, laugh, even. Nobody there knew I was the guy who got forgotten on his birthday. Nobody expected anything from me, and that was the gift. Weeks passed. I stopped checking my phone altogether. Stopped wondering what Elise was posting, or if my mom was asking about me, or if Tony had filled my old cubicle. But one afternoon, while walking along the dock with grease on my hands and salt in my hair, I saw something that pulled me right back in. A woman. Tall, sharp jawline, dark glasses. She was holding up her phone, clearly taking a picture of me from across the pier. I turned, pretended not to notice, but my heart slammed against my ribs. That was Becca, Jake's ex. One of the only people from the old group who ever saw through the crap, even if she never said much. What the hell was she doing here? Why now? And more importantly, who else knew? I ducked into the boathouse behind the dock and waited. My pulse thudded in my ears, and I could feel the old instincts clawing their way back. Panic, overthinking, the urge to explain. I had buried that version of myself out here. Left him behind with the spreadsheets and birthday texts that never came. But seeing Becca's face cracked something open. I peered through a gap in the wooden wall. She was still there, standing near the railing, phone lowered now. Just looking. Not walking. Not leaving. Just scanning the area like she expected me to pop back up. And then, as if she could feel me watching, she turned, eyes locking with mine across the distance. There was no shock on her face, just this tired sadness, like she had expected this moment for a long time. I stepped out slowly, walked toward her across the dock, each step heavy like I was marching toward something I could not name. She waited. When I reached her, she did not smile. She did not cry. She just said one thing. "They think you're dead, Zach." My chest tightened. She continued. "Jake never came back. His car was found. His letter, too. But no one has seen him. The cops questioned everyone. Your name kept coming up. They found out you ghosted. No contact, no bank activity. And eventually, well, your mom had a breakdown. Elise told people you must have done something." I did not say a word. She dug in her bag and pulled out a manila folder. Held it out to me. "I found him," she whispered. "Jake. He's alive. And he's scared." My hand trembled as I took it. Inside were photos. Grainy, zoomed in from a distance. Jake in a hoodie, working behind a counter at a hardware store in Nevada. A printed email. A bus ticket. A note scribbled in handwriting I knew by heart. "Tell Zach I'm sorry I made it worse." I looked up, throat tight. Becca nodded. "He thinks he ruined your life. He heard about the missing person posters, the online threads. People blaming you." My voice cracked when I finally spoke. "I never wanted this." She sighed, brushing windblown hair from her face. "I know, but this is what happens when people ignore the cracks for too long. They shatter. Quietly." We stood there, the waves lapping gently against the posts beneath our feet. Then she added one more thing. "Your mom tried to call you on your birthday. She swears she did. Says the message got stuck in drafts." That one hit different, because whether it was true or not no longer mattered. It was too late. Everything had already changed. And now, for the first time, I had a choice. Go back, or disappear for good. That night, I sat in my room above the marina office, lights off, folder open in my lap. The letter from Jake kept pulling my eyes back. Not the words, exactly, but the handwriting. It looked different than before. Unsteady. Like he had written it fast, maybe scared. I imagined him in a motel bathroom, crouched on a toilet lid, pen shaking in his fingers, trying to say what he could not say to my face. I had wanted space. I had wanted silence. But this felt like fallout. Like I had started a fire by walking away, and now I was staring at the ashes, wondering if any of it had been worth it. I thought about the people I had left behind. Elise, my mom, even Tony. People who had never noticed the weight on my back until I finally dropped it. But here is the thing they never tell you. When you walk away to protect yourself, you do not always get to choose who gets burned in the process. I laid back on the bed, eyes on the ceiling fan turning slow above me. That cheap motel smell had long faded. Now the room just smelled like salt and wood and old rope. There were two paths in front of me. 1. Pack up, get on a bus, head west, find Jake, help clean up the mess he ran from. Try to fix what people thought I broke. 2. Stay. Keep my name out of systems. Keep my head down. Let the version of me they remembered dissolve completely. At sunrise, I walked to the water's edge and watched the boat sway with the waves. Marvin came out with his coffee mug and gave me a nod. Said nothing. That was how it always was between us. Mutual understanding through silence. I pulled the folder from under my jacket and stared at it one more time. Then she threw it into a trash barrel and lit a match. The flames curled around Jake's picture first, then the ticket stub, then the note. I watched it all disappear, piece by piece. Not because I was angry, not because I was done caring, but because I finally understood something. If they needed a ghost, let them have one. But I would no longer be haunted. And just as I turned to walk back toward the dock, my phone buzzed. Once. No caller ID. One new voicemail. I stood there, staring at the screen, and pressed play. The voicemail crackled like a broken radio at first. Then I heard her voice. My mom. She sounded older. Tired. Like life had finally worn down whatever pride used to sit in her throat. Her voice wavered, but she pushed through. Zach. I do not know if this will reach you. Maybe you changed your number. Maybe you blocked me. I would not blame you. There was a pause. I know I was not what you needed growing up. I leaned on you too much. Expected you to be fine because you never complained. But that was selfish. I should have said this a long time ago. I saw what you did for all of us. I saw it, and I let it happen. Her breath caught, like she was holding back tears. I forgot your birthday. I do not even have an excuse. No, that is not true. I had one written in my head. I was going to call, but something distracted me. And then it was the next day, and the next. And by the time I remembered, it felt too late. The silence on the line grew heavy. Your sister is scared. She says she checked your place, and everything was still there. Except you. And Jake, he is still missing, officially. But Becca says you might know more. I do not want to push. I just want you to know. If you ever come back, if you ever want to talk, I will be here. I will be better. I promise. The voicemail ended there. No dramatic plea. No forced apology. Just a voice trying to reach across a chasm of silence. I stared at the horizon where the ocean swallowed the sun. The tide rolled in slow and steady, like a heartbeat. I had no intention of calling back, because I had already called myself back to life. For years, I had been the second thought, the reliable shadow, the guy they leaned on when convenient, the filler between their big moments. And it took a missed birthday, just one stupid day, for me to see it clearly. I was never part of the story. I was the background. Not anymore. I turned off my phone for the last time, tossed it into the bay without a second thought, and listened to the splash echo across the dock. That version of me, the quiet one, the giver, the forgotten, was gone. And somewhere out there, Jake was finding his own way, too. They would talk about us like we vanished, like we ran. Let them. Because the truth? We did not run away. We walked towards something better. And this time, the story was ours. If this story hit you in any way, drop a comment. Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe for more.